video in DearPiggy's JavaScript course. So we haven't been doing JavaScript for a few weeks now, so our skills may be a little bit rusty. So it might help just a little bit if you want to go ahead and take a look at the previous JavaScript tutorials that we'd made before. But in this video, we're going to be going over some string properties. So we're going to go over 5 simple ones. We'll be doing 2 more advanced ones in the next video, but let's get started on these string properties. So let me go ahead and create my REPL, choose new REPL, JavaScript, and create our REPL. So the first thing that I kind of want to bring to your attention here is the fact that previously we'd always been coding by taking this out, bringing it underneath, and coding it all in the HTML, which was perfectly fine. But most professionals don't exactly do it that way. They use the external JavaScript sheet over here called script.js. So we're going to actually go ahead and use that in this video, and probably in the next few as well. So I just want to show you guys real quick that this part where it says script src is equal to script.js, this is essentially saying that we're not writing any JavaScript code here. Go find all of the JavaScript code in this separate sheet called script.js. So this page called script.js is where we will be writing all of our JavaScript code. So hopefully, even though it might look different for the first couple of times, but it'll probably be a lot more clean and organized and easier for us to use. So yeah, we're going to be using this external style sheet. The first property that I want to introduce to you guys is the length property, which, just like its name, finds the length of whatever text you're putting in. So first I'm going to start off with some normal text, var new year is equal to, and then I have to set it to some string, right? Welcome 2021, right? We're all happy that 2021 is here. I am, thank goodness. But we have our variable called new year. Now, in order to get the length of this variable, we're going to have to say new year dot length. One thing that I kind of want to show you guys though is that when you're looking for the length, it doesn't just take letters. It takes every single character in your string. So that means all these letters, as well as this space and these numbers and this exclamation mark. So it's going to take every single character in your text, in your string essentially. Now, we've never seen any variable being declared the other way around. We've always seen var variable name is equal to the value. So we're going to go ahead and say var length, text length is going to be equal to the new year dot length semicolon. So what I've done here is I've created a new variable that has the value of whatever the length is. So this is presumably going to be some sort of number, right? Because this is a number. Now, to print it out, we're going to use DOM elements so that we can print it out to the web page. So if you're not really sure about what I'm going to do next, go ahead and take a look at that video, the DOM elements video. Basically, I'm going to, well, first I need to go to our HTML. And I need to basically create an empty space where I can print this stuff out to. So I need to create a paragraph tag that has an ID of, well, let's just call it the length. So this is basically an empty container where I can put my JavaScript code onto the actual screen. So keep in mind the ID is called length. I'm going to come back in our script and say document.getElement by ID, and the ID name was length, remember? And we're going to set that HTML, so what we want that value to be, we're going to set it to that variable. We're going to set it to text length, and then stick a semicolon after that. So this is basically normal DOM elements. We run our code and 13 appears on our screen, which means that obviously this text has 13 characters. If you want to count it out, be my guest, but I'm just going to assume that this code did it right. So yeah, that was how we use the length property. Next property that we're going to talk about is the index of property. Kind of a weird name, a little bit misleading, but basically this is going to kind of run a search for whatever we want it to look for. And this search is going to, keep in mind, find the first occurrence. So we will kind of see in a second, but if you have a text where multiple words are repeated multiple times and you search for that word, it's not going to give you all those instances. It's just going to look for the first one. So the index of property is going to only look for the first one. And it's going to give you the position, basically. We'll kind of play around with this in a second, but let me go ahead and give a new variable. So variable my text, set it equal to I love puppies because puppies are cute. So in this case, I am going to actually search for the word puppies because as you can see, puppies is repeated twice here. So I kind of want to show you guys that. Obviously, if you search for any other word, you only see them once. So nothing's really going to change. But since we've used puppies twice, we're going to look for puppies. So how we're going to do that is again, we're going to do, instead of doing, let's do it this way. We'll say my text dot index of. Now in these parentheses, we're going to have to give it something to look for. Like I said before, we're going to use puppies. So we're going to say, in this text, search for the first time you see the word puppies. Now I'm going to assign this to a variable. So var position, and basically it's going to give me where does puppies start. And now, good habit to put the semicolons down here. Let's kind of print this variable called position onto the web page, and let's just see what we get. I kind of want to show you guys this, not get animations. Get element by ID. Now speaking of that, I should go ahead and create a new ID, a new element as well. So paragraph, and I'm going to give it ID is equal to index because that's kind of what we're going for. And in my script.js, I'm going to say this time use the index ID and then set the inner HTML to be position, the variable called position. Run your code and we see 7. So what does this 7 stand for, guys? Well, this 7 actually stands for the number where puppies starts. Now let's count that really fast and you might notice something weird. I is 1, right? The space is 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're saying puppies is 8. The P starts from 8. Why is it giving us 7? Well, if you kind of forgot this fact, but most programs, especially these coding languages, they start counting from 0. So I would be 0, space would be 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Puppies would indeed start from 7. So this index thing is going to, index of is going to tell us where the word that we're looking for starts. If instead I'm looking for, let's look for love, because it's relatively toward the beginning, and I run my code, well, this time it's going to give me 2. Why? Because 0, 1, this L starts from 2. So we kind of understand what the index of function is used for now. On to our next property, which is actually called last indexed of. So before we talked about how we could use index of to find the first occurrence, but what if we wanted to find the other ones? Well, last index of is going to be able to count these from the backwards side. That sounds really weird. In last index of is going to be able to help us count backwards. So yeah. Let's go ahead and try this thing out. Variable I'm running out of creative variable names, guys. I don't know if you can tell. We went from new year to my text, and now we're going back to text. I need to work on these names. Variable text, we call it, food is yummy, I love food. Really simple sentences, but you know that food actually starts here and it ends with the word food as well. So we have 2 occurrences of food. Var, my position, we're getting less and less creative with the names, and I'm going to do essentially the same thing, but I'm going to stick a word in front of index of. I'm going to say text dot last index of. So almost the exact same thing. This time I'm going to search for food. Now we're presented with something that I want to show you guys here. Does case count? So does upper or lowercase matter? And the answer is yes. So since I've capitalized F here and lowercase f here, these are two different things. In this case, I've lowercase food, so this would only be our only one occurrence. So to make it like this way everything is the same. I was just kind of to show you guys that, well, the upper lowercase thing does matter. So go ahead and let's create a new element here with an ID called last. Bring it back to your JavaScript and document.getElementById last. Did I capitalize it? I doubt I did. There we go, last, and then set its inner HTML to be the variable myPosition. Run your code and we get 21. Now, what does this do? Well, basically, since we said last index of, you're kind of surprised. You're like, where did they get 21 from? So that's because it counted backwards. So, well, it didn't count backward. It looked backward. Instead of starting from the beginning of the string and finding this food, it started from the end and found this word food first. So then it would take this as what you wanted to find, and it would go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm just going to assume it counted that right. So this food would start at the value of 21. So yeah, that is basically almost the exact same thing as our index of and last index of. Oh, one thing I want to mention, if you give it a word that does not exist. So for example, if I give it sunny and I give it Wang over here, it's going to give me -1 because it did not find any of these values. So if the values don't exist, it's going to give you -1. That's just something that I kind of wanted to show you. So 3 down, 2 more to go. This next one is called slice. So what slice does is it's going to kind of, well, like its name, slice things into bits. So basically, like a knife slicing a, well, cucumber. That's the first thing that came into my head. Isn't that weird? But like a knife slicing a cucumber, you could slice it, you could start chopping it in half and then you could take the rest, or you could chop it at the first part and chop it at the second part and take the middle. So that's kind of what the slice property is like. You're going to give it the first part to slice and the second part to slice, and it's going to take out the middle. So we're going to usually give it 2 parameters. You don't always have to start with 2, but we'll see how this works. Go ahead and give it some text, var new text. Wow, these names really getting on my nerves. Let's say something interesting here. My throat is really dry. Okay, so that's our text, and we are going to basically say var slice is going to, that's just our variable, and we're going to say new text dot slice. Now inside of here, we're going to give it a start number and an end number. So where should we start slicing? We can give it a random number. Let's just give it a random number to start with. We'll start 3 and end at 8. So we have given it 2 random numbers. Go ahead and print it out onto your web page, see what it gives us, and then we'll go from there. I need to give it an ID called slice. Bring it back here, document.getElementById slice, set its inner HTML. That's not supposed to go in there. It's supposed to go outside of the parentheses. Set the inner HTML to be the value of slice. So run your code and we get throw. So like not quite there with the T. Let's see. So these are actually the places where you should slice your string. So 0, 1, 2, T. So T is 3. So 3. Your slicing starts from the 3. Now 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The second T, this T is 8. Why didn't it get included? So this is something that I want to kind of make sure that you guys remember. The first number is going to be included. So if you say 3, then that third value will be included. But the second number is not included. So even though we said ended at 8, the 8th value was not included. So it's really going to only go to the 7th. If we wanted to have the entire word throat, we would have to make it go one more than we really wanted it to have the word throat. So the biggest key here is that remember that your numbers are 1 is included, 1 is not included. And yeah, that was the slice property. Last property we're going to work with in this video is the substring. I like to call it substring, but there's actually another different property called substring. So we're just going to call this sub-str. It's going to slice the string, but with a specified length. So you can give it the length to slice it for. So instead of telling it and having to remember, like your second number is not included and counting, you can just say start from this value and basically take the next blah 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 values. And that was a really confusing explanation. Let me go ahead and show you guys. Var txt. There we go with the variable names again. I want mangoes. I love mangoes. Mangoes are really good. Okay, so var sub. This time we're going to say txt.substr. Now in here, we're going to first give it the number. So this is actually really helpful, guys. It tells you from which number and what the length should be. So from which number do we want it to start? Let's just have it start from 3 again. But this time, let's give it 9. So giving it the same thing, actually, I'm going to have both of these values to be the same, and I'll show you how they give us different things. So we have the same string, same, numbers, but it's going to give us something completely different. Crossing my fingers. Okay, so P, let's set the ID equal to sub, bring it over, excuse me, sorry guys. Okay, so document.get element by ID sub and set the HTML to be sub. That's right. So now if I run my code here, throat is. So why does it give us something different? Let's take a look here. Again, this 3 tells us where it should start. So it should see starting point. Now the second number 9 is actually the length of string. So basically, throat is 3, right? So 3, and then after 3, it's going to count for 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So after S, it's basically 9 characters. So this 9 is going to say, after the starting point, take in 9 more characters. So yeah, that is our substring method. Now, I know this video was a little bit long, but I had my reasons for splitting it into different parts. We will see you guys in the next video for 2 more string properties. So I think that should be a short one, but you guys know by now not to trust what I say when I say short. But anyways, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.